Hi, it's Miss Emma. I leave for England tomorrow and I'm not sure how quickly I'll be able to do you this message. So I just wanted to do a message for new teachers and parents, especially parents who are wanting to use SSP because their children, either they want to teach their children to read before they start prep in January, or because they've got older children that are struggling in the system at the moment. So let me just show you what you need. Now, first of all, I might just move my tea. Just think about every time you say words, you are using the smallest speech sounds, which are called phonemes. And that's what we're going to focus on. So don't focus on the big sort of stuff. Let's start off with the little stuff. So anything you say, like here is a cup of tea, think about the speech sounds, and especially think about the king who speaks in a British accent. Which speech sound would he use? Because the speech sound king created the code. He decided which of the pictures of the speech sounds would be used in which words, and he put those, he recorded it very nicely for us in his code mapping book called the dictionary. Now, when I'm talking about pictures of speech sounds, think of, let's do it with this, a cup of tea. Here is a cup of tea. Every single speech sound that we use there in the words, if they were floating in the air from left to right, we could pick them, take a picture of them and put them down on paper so we can talk on paper. So here is a cup of tea would be ear, here, because there are just two speech sounds there. Is, up, cup, of, et. So think about it going from left to right with the speech sounds and taking pictures. And there's your duck, because we're using the duck hands to do it. It helps, it's multisensory and helps the brain really translate those speech sounds in the air onto paper. So if I did it over my whiteboard and I did here is a cup of tea, let me just do it with duck fingers first. So I'd go ear and then blend it here. Is, up, cup, of, et. So use your duck hands, do it over the board, and if you're doing it in front of you, do it from left to right. So we're translating those speech sounds down onto paper, and it doesn't matter how old your child is, that's the bit they're missing if they're struggling. So you might think it's their fluency and their comprehension, whatever else. Well, actually, it will all come back to this underlying issue, which is called poor phonemic awareness. When there are phonemic awareness deficits, everything else just falls apart and people are just band-aiding. So let's stop band-aiding and actually address the issue. So when we then go to do speech sound lines, and this is very important, so we're not even thinking about the letters at the moment, we're making sure the brain understands how our words translate onto paper. Because we didn't start by having a written code and learn to speak. It's so difficult that way around. It's so difficult to look at this and sound it out, because those letters represent different speech sounds in different combinations, and it's just impossible. Think about this. It's so misleading to say that's because just look for the day at so many words and just think, does it represent in these words? You know, just look around you all the time. I could go on and on and on. There's loads of them. There it's an any. There it's an another. There it's an father. There it's an was. So really think about what we're telling children. That can be a picture for If we said ant, ant, then yes, it is a picture for in that word, but not in the vast majority of words. So phonics only takes us so far, and it's only a part of the puzzle. It's really important that you don't overemphasize phonics, because actually if the children can't hear in the word any that it's any, they're not even going to be able to think about, well, what's the representation for in the word e? What is it? And if you've got basic phonics, the child's going to go probably e or something like that. So we need so many things. It's not easy, but if you use SSP, it's a lot easier. Because SSP, I had to throw all of the programs out of the window because I was working with children who really struggled. My master's degree is special educational needs, and I'm doing more postgrad work with that. Because children who learn differently, we can't wait until they fail. We need to teach every child as if they're going to fail from the beginning, so no children do. And I had to throw out every single program, and I had to use my gut feeling as a teacher. I mean, teachers, we're professionals, but also most of us who are teachers in our hearts, in our very beings. It's not just a piece of paper, it's not just a qualification. Who decides, oh, I'm going to be a teacher? You don't. The pay is awful, that you get treated so badly, you're disrespected. We do it for the children. So we teach in spite of all the downfalls. Teaching is not a profession that people choose just because they're not sure of what to do. So teachers generally are in this for the children, and unfortunately so many teachers are leaving droves. But as a teacher, as somebody passionate about children, I knew I had to throw out all these programs, all these mix and match. I mean, people were telling me to use you use a program for comprehension, a program for letter formation, a program for phonics, a program for this, a program for that. No, I thought, I'm a teacher, I can do this. And so what SSP is SSP is basically showing you what I do. It's a non-program. So it's developed into a program, but because of not wanting to use a program, but I had to put it into replicable form, because what I do, I'm very, very successful at what I do. And I wanted to share that with everybody. You know, why just make money on teaching children and what have you? I wanted to be able to share this with everybody else, because every child deserves the right to read, and every teacher deserves the right to understand how to get their best outcomes ever. Okay, so think about, we're not doing it speech, and we're not doing it print to speech, because it didn't start off like that. It started off that we were talking, people needed to send messages. How do we send the messages? And actually what they did, and there's the whole story about the king, the speech sound king, sending a message through via the magic, sending a message about the magic ant, because he needed to send a message to the prince far away, and they didn't have internet, etc. So they needed to create a code, a written code, so that they could send messages. So you think about ant in pan, ant, eaten in, put at and pan, and they thought, well, what picture could I use for I know. How about this? Now, you imagine if it was just a squiggle or whatever, right? So they're thinking of a squiggle for and a squiggle for and a squiggle for t. Well, they've already got the and the and the t. So now we need the I squiggle, and we've got it already. It's there, look. I can't replicate that. But you get the idea. So it's just a picture for every phoneme. And what they happen to choose was that for the that for the that for the t. So t, ant, eaten, in, put atten. Okay, so in there we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've just got 5 pictures for the sounds, and yet we've got 3 words, and we use those letters a few times because we use those sounds a few times. So that's how the code started, and then they wanted to send more messages, and they had to think, well, there's more speech sounds, what are the representations? And also then what happened was the monsters came along and said, oh, I love that can I be Can I be the monster? Because can I collect all the pictures for And then we had the monster. Come on, Mr. Monster, where's monster? The monster. Okay, so we had and the monster. Because what the monster said was that, yes, the monster said, I love that one, yes. But I also love this one. Plat, plat. A sound pick, a picture of a sound can be lots of letters. Think about the word 8. All of that represents the A. 8. So it doesn't matter how many letters, and we've only got 26 letters of the alphabet, but we use those in different combinations for the pictures of each speech sound. So we've got ant. Here are the monsters ant. So this just happens to be the picture for and for t in this particular word. Now have a look on here. Ironically, people who teach English as a second language understand these. I know that looks like an N, that looks like a T, but this is just the global symbol. That means that that's the sound It's the phonetic symbol. It's an international chart. This one here, and that's why I wish there weren't letters that looked like, that does look like an N, which can represent an but there's lots of representations for Think about if you had the word pneumonia. that is the picture for n, or the word gnat, that is the picture, because the rule is, and it's the only one rule in SSP, there are no rules at all, the rule is that every speech sound maps with a letter. It's called code mapping or monster mapping. So here are the monsters and their phonetic symbols, and to say don't worry about those are really because I want teachers to understand the link. I want them to start really thinking about linguistics. The children just look at these. So these monsters represent a speech sound. This monster loves j. This monster loves a. This monster loves This monster loves p. So if they're together left to right, that shows you they want to tell you a word. Monster. So you need to monster map. What's the word? J, a, p. And then we do something called blending into the whole word jump.
Yeah, what's it? Which one's that one? Oh, where's monster J? J. Where? Where? Oh, there it is. There's monster J. Oh, you're so clever.
Those individual speech sounds in words are not natural. The only time a child needs to be able to think about those individual speech sounds is when they're reading and spelling. So a child can do perfectly well with their oral language, with everything else, until it comes to reading and spelling, and then you suddenly realise that when you go j, there's nothing in their brain that puts that together to make it into the word jump, and it's nothing to do with their hearing. That's the phonemic awareness. And if they can't go j, because they can remember those, it's like in certain phonics programs, you know, the child goes or what have you, but then you start putting them together in a word. Let's say we had, that's just another picture of all, but supposing they knew that is that is that is per, that is all. Let's say high frequency, let's say it's likely to be an likely to be a likely to be a per, likely to be a all. Even if they know that in these phonics programs, then they go all, and they have no clue that together blended, that's the word ample. So they're recognizing a letter or recognizing a symbol and saying a sound, but not actually able to use it. So that's much more about memory. That's not actually going to help them with their reading and spelling. With decoding and encoding, you need to be able to hear the speech sounds, to know the order. So here's the order, that's segmenting, and they need to blend them.
Follow the monster sounds to say the word. Don't forget your duck hands.
Is E Z A O L A P E.
What's that word?
Physiotherapist.
Brilliant.
So in this word, jump, so this is the symbol for j, the symbol for the symbol for which is very nice, and the p, they look like it. But then they would think about, okay, so it's a spelling. Well, we know we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 speech sounds, j, p. And you notice I said the sounds as I did the numbers, and as I do the letters, as I do the speech sound lines. They're called speech sound lines because you do the speech sounds at the same time. J, jump. So now it's just, okay, well, here's monster J, which is the picture of his speech sound that's going to go here. J, take a picture. Well, in this one word, it looks like this. In this word, it looks, the looks like that. In this word, the looks like that. In this word, the p looks like that. It might not. The j in jump, think about giant. It's a different j. So that's why we start off with saying, what's the picture for j in this word? Now, the spelling cloud keyring is a nice handy way. J is in purple. The children get very, very quick, and the colour relates to this explicit teaching. Oh, this is an old cloud keyring, I can tell, because it hasn't got the j monster just there. Because the children now this year are using those monsters so effectively. Some teachers didn't really understand what the monsters were for, but that's because if you don't really understand the phonetic symbols, you don't understand linguistics and how that links, some people can find it difficult to understand, or why do you need a visual representation? Now, people who use things like cued articulation for children who can't give you the sounds in words like jump, you know, you ask them for the sounds in jump because they need to know those sounds to be able to spell. they can't tell you the sounds because they can't articulate it. So they do cued articulation to show the action for the j and for the and for the p. In a different language, in a different country, before they've even started thinking about the phonics, they would just get the phonetic symbols out and they would put out j, and they would put out the symbols j, p. Anyway, so so they would put them out, so they don't need to be able to articulate them. They're telling you which the speech sounds are. But I find that because I'm teaching 2- and 3-year-olds to read, I don't want them having to learn all of these symbols. They don't need to think about those symbols. So how nice is it that what they can do is find their monster? So you can see 2-year-olds that when I say jump, they will find monster j, monster 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 p. Sorry, put monster p back there. There you go, monster p. So they will put them out, and then you can say, oh, here are the pictures, and you write the pictures there. But they will need to see all of the pictures, and that's why we have the monster. So this is monster J's cloud, speech sound cloud. Here are all the pictures for J in the cloud. Now, a lot of teachers even aren't aware of how many pictures there are. They might think of a J and a G. I mean, they might use some programs that say, oh, you know, this is J, and here's an alternative. Well, okay, but what about all the other alternatives? We've got a whole English language of 1.25 million words. You know, we need them to see that, and it's because although they're going to learn that one in the purple code level, actually the reason that they learn it there is because they're learning skills and concepts. We want them to see, oh, okay, so this letter, it's the same letter, it's the letter G, but here is a picture of G, and here it's a picture of J. So it's a skill and concept. And this is why we teach the code, or this is a fraction. This is only a fraction of the phonics code. Think of these as high frequency sound picks, like you teach high frequency sight, you know, words, call them sight words, whatever, what I'll discuss in a minute, because I really want you to get rid of that idea of a sight word. It's a myth. It's just not how the brain works. It's not in line with the science of learning. They're high frequency words, but every single word in the English language, bar 2, can be code mapped, which means every single word you say has the speech sounds that can be mapped to a letter or string of letters. Nothing's left over. There's nothing silent, long, short, fat, pink, whatever. So in the green code level, we start off with this group. But like I just showed you just there, a lot of the reason for these is not just because what I did with this was I actually more or less followed the same order as letters and sounds in the UK, which is where I'm from. And that was because I wanted teachers to be able to access any free resources that were created for the letters and sounds program, which means that when we're doing this, you can just dip into free resources from letters and sounds. But anyway, so this group is so that they develop a certain skills and concepts and can use these in reading and spelling, and then we move up. But you see here we had this G, which the children are learning. Oh, okay, so if I say a letter, it's not just going to be represent one speech sound, and so that they're understanding a concept. And like here we've got the C there, that could be like cent, 50 cent, or it could be a cut like cat. And here, so that's another picture for cut. And then here, look at what's the concept there. The concept there is, okay, well, we don't go, that's a k, could be a cut, and that could be a cut. We don't go k. We don't say da k. So the concept there is, okay, so when two are together, they can still represent one speech sound. What's the concept here? Oh, look, we've got one there. So we don't go fla, f, or giggle. So, and then also here, look at the concept. The concept is, well, we've got a sound like s. It could have been this one. It could have been this one. It could have been this one. Here, all. Look, 3 different representations there for all. So as we're going through, it's not just a case of looking at it and saying d, g, or j, or s, or k, etc. It's a case of understanding different skills and concepts, and we build up. I've carefully built up the skills and concepts so that by the time they get to here, there's no shock. The very last thing we do here is split vowel digraphs, which we call soundpick sandwiches. But because they move through the program, it means they're understanding all the skills and concepts they need. Here we've got the j. So remember we said the g and the j. Well, here's the j again. So these are high frequency sound picks, which gives them a good leg up to be able to read and spell. But please remember, this phonics here, or your digraphs, your trigraphs, whatever. This is just a fraction of what is needed to be able to read and spell with our English code. Now, a lot of people don't actually realise that. You know, they think of "or." They had no idea that there were that many representations for "or." And this is what's so great with SSP, is that the children are discovering the code with me. And if they discover one that's not in the cloud, they put it on the outside of the cloud, and they find, as long as they find 2 or more words with it in it, they tell me and it goes in there and I write them a poem. So it's a collaborative approach across Australia and actually worldwide now. But think, you know, and a lot of teachers would think, oh, that's too many, we can't teach them that. And I want teachers to get rid of this idea that they are the ones teaching everything to the children. It just doesn't work like that. You can't teach that much. You only got a 2-hour literacy block. You can't possibly teach the children everything every single student needs. So what you do is you think of the science of learning. And what you do is you give them enough, the brain, enough of the skills and concepts, enough information, so the brain starts to take over. Some children are going to be capable of a lot more, but what we're doing is we're teaching each individual child and we're guiding them. So when you think about even the clouds, even the concept of the spelling clouds, and it doesn't matter what program teachers are using, if they have these spelling clouds on the walls, they're giving their children an advantage because they're actually able to visually see. Look at that, that's I. And why it's got IGH on the outside, because it means at that point in the yellow code level, we were looking at that explicitly. They've looked at I on another one, but so you'll have doubled up clouds, but it's because actually these clouds follow the explicit teaching order. So even if we've got, so we don't just have one cloud for S, let's say. We don't just have one, because the children are using these as they work through the explicit. So here we've got S. And then here's all the pictures of S. But they come across S again when they go to the purple code level. Now, by the time you get to the yellow and blue code level, then we do start to have, you know, one cloud that shows they're all the explicit ones that we're doing. But early on, it's just in line. Everything I do is in line with how children, let's imagine every child is going to struggle, and let's teach every child as if they're going to struggle so that we don't miss anybody out. We don't assume every child's going to get it and then just have children who are strugglers or whatever, and some children who it's just too easy. What we do is we make sure that we give every child the information they need. Okay, so these clouds need to be up on walls in classrooms, but when the children look at the clouds, you imagine if they've just written a word like, you know, supposing they were playing with their swords at the weekend. And again, it's individual. You're not going to explicitly teach SW because it's not common. This is common. But when they're writing at the weekend and they're writing about their swords, let's say they wrote S or D, Z. Then what you do, this is code mapping. Then what I'll say is, can you code map it? And they know that means do the duck hands, lines and numbers. Swords, swords. Okay, lines. Swords, swords. So they're splitting. Where are the phonemes? Swords. And then what you're going to say is, that is a picture for S, but not in this word. That is a picture for or, but not in this word. And yes, they're the right pictures for D and for Z. Well done. So what you'll do at the beginning, because a child, unless they have a reference, unless they've seen the word swords before, then you can't go here and say, right, which one do you think it is? How are they possibly going to know that? So at the beginning stages, or if you think they don't know the word, you might say to them, can you see any that you think? Every time they go to this cloud, they're going to keep looking at this. So they're actually going to learn more than you are teaching in the explicit teaching. But what you do is to start off with, and parents, if they don't get the wrong sound pick, show them the right one. So you say, in this word, it's this one. And I've done these key rings so that you can write on them with your whiteboard pen and rub them off, which is very difficult when you're also holding on to an iPhone. Okay, so he's saying to them, it's this one. Okay, so they know, right, this whole thing changes. So it's going to be this one. That's the picture for in the word swords. It's that one. And then the or. Again, the child might say, oh, I know another one. I know it's this one, or what have you. But if not, it doesn't matter. They go, and because they're doing this all the time, they will very quickly, you know, I have 3-year-olds who will say, or, in blue. There's a video of a child who's on the spectrum, and it was so lovely because, you know, I'll say to him, used to say to him, In fact, he would be much quicker than me at this stage. I would be saying, where's the or? And he'd say below, and he'd find it for me. Oh, come on. Can't do it with one hand. Come on. Or. Or. Shout out when you see it. Or. Oi. O. Ow. Or. Did you know there were that many representations for or? No. So, or. So what you say is that is there, because look, you can see it is one there. Can you see it? Just there. And what's the example? Claw. It is that one. But actually in this particular word, it is this one. Look, it's inside there. There. It's this one. Let's have a look at the example word for the OR. Sorry, let's have a look at the, let's have a look at the example word for the OR. Can you see it? OR. For all four. So they just go and they just change it. So we're going to change that whole or into this one. Now what also helps with the brain is that s or d is that they just do it 5 times. S or d z. Sorry. S or d z. And they say the sounds as they're doing it. S or d z. S or d z. S or d z. So parents, when they come to a word, when they've spelt a word incorrectly, ask them to duck hands, lines and numbers it, which means they're going to have a line, a speech sound line. And remember, every single letter is used. And then you're saying to them, that is a picture for or whatever in that word, but not in this word. Show them which one it is. It's as simple as that on the process. Okay, let's rub this off. So, get to know how to speak in speech sounds. So I said, here is a cup of tea. Here, is, up, cup, of, to, et. Let's have a look at it in speech sound lines. If a child can write a sentence in speech sound lines, they are not going to struggle with reading and spelling because they've got the underlying, their brain has that foundation it needs. Here, is, now when I'm doing a speech sound sentences, I don't do the numbers because I want the brain to carry on, and we do this at the beginning of rapid writing. So here, remember there's a finger space. Here, is, up, cup, of, to, et. Here is a cup of tea. Let's do the speech sound numbers now. Here, is, up, cup, of, to, et. Just your speech sound lines. So you don't need to understand anything at all about teaching. You don't need to be a teacher. You don't need to know anything other than, what do I say? When does my mouth change? Now even though the end bit is slightly different, did you hear? You have to be able to close it. So you can't go It's got to close. So some sounds are nice and easy, like this one has got a slight change. Is, they're easy. That's easy. Up, cup, that's easy. Of, e. Now, do you hear on the e, the last bit, it's like a y, isn't it? But it's closing it. Still the smallest unit, even though you started off with a sound and it changed slightly. And that's what you start to do. You can close your eyes and listen for it. Think about what your mouth does, but it's got to close. It's got to be the smallest unit, even though a lot of them actually have a few changes. Think about when you say, I'm going to play snooker, so I need a Q, U, U. That might, consciously you might think, oh, that's easy, U. But think about the U. How many changes there are there? We've got the U. We've kind of got 3 changes there, haven't they? Haven't you? And that's what you need to think, but it's still the smallest unit. So I know that you're probably thinking, oh my goodness me, but the more you do this, the easier it becomes, and it becomes second nature. Children find this far easier than adults, and need to be able to do this to read and spell. Okay, so think about, we've got our sentence there. Here is a cup of tea, but here then we'll say, right, what are the pictures? Picture for ear. Let me carry on. Here is a cup of tea. And what happens here, often things that you didn't even think about, like this is a Z. You know, a lot of people, there's such simple things that people haven't even acknowledged because they've not done code mapping before. But I want you to think of any sentence at all and know that you can code map absolutely everything. So here's a high frequency word. So the high frequency words are code mapped exactly the same as a word that you know is phonetically very easy to sound out, up, cup. So is this one, her ear, high frequency word, of, you know, think of any word, b, e, k, o, z. Any words, any high frequency words. That's why I said there's no such thing as a sight word, because as long as the children need to be able to code it, to understand the coding, to learn more. If you just give them like this and say just sort of got to memorize it, first of all, we know that that is not what happens, and the brain can only memorize a certain amount of words anyway. But what they need to know is they need to know the parts so that they can transfer that knowledge, and also so they can spell it, so they spell it correctly. We have a lot of children who, you know, learn 100 sight words and they can look at them, but then when you look at their writing, they're not spelling it like that. So the knowledge just isn't being used in their real reading and writing. So what's the point? And I also want to, let me rub this off and let me just show you what I mean. So sight words, it's that this idea that, you know, we're learning it by sight. Well, yes, the children, when they're doing their duck level words, they'll look at the words and they'll go, here, is, on, as, the, whatever. But if you then say, can you follow the sounds? They'll go, her ear, is, on. They can follow the sound, say the word, because they're just code mapping every single word. But I'm going to write these two words, I'm going to fuzz them out. And look at this word, or is it two words? If you're honestly expecting a child is looking at a word and just memorizing it, it's just a ridiculous concept. The child has to know the parts in the word. Otherwise, they're not going to actually be able to use the word correctly. They're going to get words that look the same, mixed up. So they might ride a house and go and stay in grandma's horse. It's the same shape. We need children to not just know house, horse. We need them to know it's because this is ow. Look at the difference there. And or horse. So what's the difference there? The difference is just the number 2 sound pick. Is the same. Is the same. What's the difference? What makes that word different to this word? What makes this word house and this word horse is because of this part. This is an ow and this is an or. Every child who is a good reader and speller knows the code in the words. Even though they'll quickly say house, horse, it's because they know the code. I also want you to think you are a reader. Okay, what is this word? Quick, say it aloud. If you can't say that word aloud correctly, and you don't know that word by sight, does that mean is that some reflection on you as a reader? No, because what as a reader, what you can do is you can do what we're teaching the children: follow the sound, say the word. So you'll start here. You're not looking for words in words. How does that help you if you see that word as fry? Because in this word that isn't fry. So don't look for words in words. It's just, I don't know how those things came about, but you follow the sound, say the word. So you start here and you think, what could that be? And you recognize the patterns in the word, like you recognize that's not going to be together. Why is it not going to be together? You know that, even if you've not got a teaching degree or ever looked at literacy, you know, because you know patterns. So you're going to look and think, well, that's likely to be together, that's likely to be together, whatever. That might be together, that might be together, that might be together. AU, that's definitely going to be together, isn't it? You know that because you know patterns. And that's why when we're teaching children words, whether they're high frequency words or not, these patterns matter. So you'll follow this to say the word. And then if you're not sure how to pronounce it, you can actually go to a phonetic chart. You can go type in that word and it will give you the symbols. So it'll tell you what this should be, whether it's a G or a J, what have you. They'll tell you what that should be. They'll go through and they'll show you all the phonetic symbols. And that's why people, English as a second language, use the phonetic symbols, because that doesn't tell you how to say the word until you know the phonetic symbols. So you know in this particular word what they represent. And think about the monsters. That's why the monsters help you in this word. Because if I know how to say this word, I would put the monsters out. And then you know how to work out what the word is because you know the speech sound. So even as adults who can read and spell and what have you, if there's a word that you've not seen before, and it doesn't matter if you can work out what it means, you're not going to know how to say it, how to pronounce it. Even if you follow the predicted sounds, the high frequency sounds, you're still not going to know until somebody tells you. The same as if you were reading Harry Potter, you might have thought that was Hermione. You know, what is it? Until somebody actually says what it is, you're going to look at it and you're just not going to be sure. And that's why the monsters are so great. And that's why we need the software, so that the children can type in any word and what comes out is the monsters. Then they can say, what is that word, without you even needing to be there, without teachers, without anybody there. We can actually get children using the software and typing in any word at all, and they can follow the monster sounds to say the word and they know what that word is without any help. So if they were to know, so they know g, a, u, I, o, e. So if you know that's g, a, u, I, o, e. Gallimorphy. That must be Gallimorphy. So we're using these monsters in the same way that English as second language use the phonetic symbols. It's really important, but can you see now why these monsters matter so much? If you wanted them to spell Gallimorphy, they would put out the monsters first, g, a, o, I, o, e, and then you could say, well, the picture for g is this one, the picture for a is this one, the picture for u is this one, I, o, e. Gallimorphy. So you're investigating the code, and I'm using this word to show you that it doesn't matter if you're a great speller or reader or not, you've still got a lot of the code that you can still investigate as well. Just because you can recognize, you know, a lot of words does not mean you're fluent in reading and spelling. Well, what determines if we're fluent? In this, you weren't fluent on that. You couldn't read that with fluency and comprehension. So just think about reading. Reading is decoding with fluency and comprehension. They've got to be able to decode it with fluency, that's quickly, and comprehend, that's reading. So your reading level is going to be higher, presumably, than a 5-year-old. You know, my little sister, who's a ridiculous scientist, and she can, you know, her knowledge of the code is higher than mine. So her reading level, if you like, is much higher than mine because she can decode at a much higher level with fluency and comprehension. We're always learning, all of us. So don't just think phonics is easy. It's absolutely not. And also try not to do print to speech, do speech to print. So when a child comes to you with a word that they're not sure of, don't say sound it out, because they can't. They're not sure of what that word is. They can have a good guess, but it's going to take longer. A quick way for the brain is for you to tell them what that word is and then go, oh, okay, that's what they do. So do it that way around, speech to print. A child comes, what's this word? Tell them the word, but don't just stop there. Tell them the word and say, right now, you code map it and tell me what you've learnt. Now, a lot of children don't particularly like working with their parents, so there are certain things you can do, but you can get the app, which is the SSP Monster Mapping app, and that's $20, and it means that you've got about 10 teaching videos that you put on. They put on their headphones, and I teach them. You've got videos that they have to go through the phonics, so they've got the green code level phonics video, the purple, and they don't move up to the next one until they've achieved that one. So they're achieving all the skills and concepts on this one, then they move up to this one, and they just literally put the headphones on and get on with it. They don't need you. And you've also got the high frequency words one, so you've also got the videos that's going through ce, de, said, here. You know, you, you, do, etc. So on the brain training video for duck level words, which is your high frequency words, that's what I'm doing. Said. I'm helping the brain see those parts in the words that I just said are so important. You look at those words and you might think of them as whole words. I don't. I look at them like that. Where are they code mapped? So if you've got a child who's coming home with sight words, don't get them to learn them as whole words. Look at the word and then say, okay, let's say the word. How does it code map? Any word at all. It doesn't matter which one it is. You know, this is one of their sight words they've got to learn, let's say. Well, so that they can recognize it quickly, even though it's not technically by sight, it's by coding, by understanding. And surely understanding is far better than rote learning, just memorizing. So what they're doing is that's the word there. Okay, so the air there. That was your duck hands, remember? So the air, because everything is used. The air there. And then get them to write it 5 times. The air there. The air there. Get them to do that 5 times. And what will happen is they won't just recognize it. They see the parts, and it means that when they come to write, they're going to spell each word correctly. We're just upping the game. We're just making sure, and that's why SSP teachers will tell you that the children are learning 400 plus high frequency words in prep, whereas before they might have struggled with 100. And that's because now they're actually understanding each word. And every time they look at a word, let's say they did said, and they recognize that de, what do you think is going to happen when they then see another word that's got some pattern that's the same? Ed, said, oh, look at this, that's an e and that's an e. Let's have a look in the cloud. Is that in the cloud? Let's have a look. E is in the purple code level. There we go. So is it in there? Look, there it is. Ed said, it's in there. What's the example word? There. So every single one you see, you know, don't think, oh, it doesn't follow a pattern or whatever else. You know, phonics programs have a very basic pattern, but we need children to be able to read and spell, and we want them to be able to read and spell independent, age-appropriate chapter books by the time they're 6, because then it means that when they go up to grade 2, they're reading to learn. The teachers shouldn't have to, from grade 2, teachers shouldn't be having to teach reading. It doesn't take more than 2 years for a child to learn to read independently and with fluency and comprehension. But it does if you teach in certain ways that the brain it's just going to take far too long. Okay, so the 2 apps, like I said, $20 for the SSP Monster Mapping app. And also, if you've got a iPad, the SSP Spelling Piano app is free, and that's a good one, and that's based on your phonics there. Okay, so those 2 apps that they do, and you can also, if you're a Dream Team member, you get access to those on codecrackers.com.au. I would strongly suggest that you become a Dream Team member, because then you have access to the videos, you have access to planning and support. It's just it's much easier, so you're not going it alone. And if you're a parent, you'll connect with other parents. We've just started the new parent group, so obviously it's very small, but help us grow, help us, you know, because then when new parents come in, you help them. And if they want to spell a word, let's say they come and they say, I want to know how to spell monster, then show it to them. This is part of the Speedy 6. So you would show them the word and then say, now code map it. Do duck, hands, lines and numbers. Monster. Now, people who use very basic phonics programs try to make it fit. So they'll say that's an but you don't say monster, do you? You don't say, I'm scared of the monster. You say, I'm scared of the monster. That's linguistically, that's how we say it. And this is actually schwa. So it helps the children start. At the beginning, the children think of that as an and then they start to hear the difference between an and a schwa. But don't worry about that if you haven't done that before. You'll discover it in SSP. So monster, so they think of the sounds. They might close their eyes. Monster. Remember, every letter is going to be used. So that means must be monster. Have you learnt anything? Did you know that was a Did you know that could be an o? Did you know that could be a Did you know that could be a st? And they're just thinking, what did you learn? We want to build confidence, so that's why I say a lot of the time, especially with my new students, I give them the word we code map. What then starts to happen, I'll say, well, you have a code mapping. So what we're going to do is say, like monster, they'd use duck, hands, lines, numbers, make your choices. So monster, monster. They draw the lines. Monster. Monster. Play it. Monster. Make your choices. What do you think? And that's when they put in what they think. They might put monster. Yes. Right sound pick. Yes. Yes. Yes, yes, that is a picture for up, but not in this word. Let me show you the word. Or what you can do is, you could go, I'm going to show you 3 different ways. Can you tell me which one looks right? And if they can see which one looks right, that's brilliant. Or they say, oh, that looks right. Because even though they spelt it incorrectly, because they couldn't retrieve it, once they see it, then they might recognise which is the right one, in which case they just change that one. And if they don't yet recognise which is the right one, it doesn't matter. You say, it's this one. So which is the one that needs to change? It's there. So you bring it all together with the child, regardless of whatever code level they're at, regardless of their knowledge. You're putting all the pieces together so that it's easy for that child. So, and in the Speedy 6, on one activity, we give them the word, they code map it. And then the next activity, we give them the word, and they've got to do duck, hands, lines, and numbers. They stop, we check everyone's got the right amount of lines, and then we think about the choices. So it's all part of your Speedy 6 as well, which is in your planning. Okay, so that's on your spelling. On the reading, what we do is we're teaching the code and the high frequency words. And what I did on the high frequency words was I looked at things like PMs and whatever, which are predominantly high frequency words, not phonics. And that's why you don't start PM readers until the children get to the end of the SSP yellow code level, because until then they just don't know enough of the code. So what they start to do is guess, memorize, miss out words, what have you. So anyway, so when they're reading, let's say you've got a child who's 8 or so, in SSP, when you start from the beginning, what you do is you build up. So let's say, so you've got your decodables. You've got a mixture of real and decodables. Your decodables are your means to an end, but there's no, might as well make them as fun as possible. But your decodables, so we've got sat pin here. So this is made up of sat pin. So look, stan. It's a word made up using, here's the monsters. St, a, stan. They could have built that word with the monsters. Then I could show the pictures of the sounds. Well, here it is, just here. So this book gives them a chance to reinforce using that code. And here we tell them the duck level words in this book are is, the, here, and said. And look how they're split. Is, the. It's the black grey is unique to SSP, and it's to show the children where the speech sounds split. It's saying in this book, here are the sound picks you're going to do. And if you see this, it means work it out. Come on, work it out. Okay, so all of this. So there you go, your high frequency words, her, ear. And remember how we code maps with the lines and numbers? Well, I've done it here, show black, grey. So it's showing the children. If the child just sees it as all black squiggles, it just doesn't give the brain enough information at the beginning. So we're just giving the brain a boost. Here is, st, at, and stan. Here is stan. And so that means you can also start thinking about, well, what's that doing there? That's because it's the end of the sentence. And then you can talk about the picture. So you're doing all of your oral language and your predictions and your, what do you think, and your literal and your lateral and everything else. But it's within text they can actually code. Here we've got, what's this for? Is it telling us how mummy is talking? Well, I can see how she's feeling because she's pointing and what have you. But this is how the author tells us how to read it. Okay, so that's a decodable. So that's an SSP decodable. Stan sits. You can see Stan gets in a little bit of trouble. Pips. Wonder what he's going to do with the pips. Oh, Stan, he's spitting the pips. The, st, at, and Stan. Spits. The, pips. Stan spits the pips. Mum snaps. Stan! So they love them because they're meaningful, but the children don't need you. And that's the whole thing with SSP. They don't want to need you. They want to be able to show off to you, but they don't need you to tell them everything. And even like the spelling, they come to you, how do you do that word? You write it, they code map it. We don't want any of this, sound it out, because if they could, they would. Don't let them sit there and feel stupid. If they come to a word they're not sure, if they look at this and they're not sure, well, this is for practicing their phonics. But supposing they're reading a book they want to read because it's fun, supposing they'll go, what's this word? Well, what you do is do speedy pair decoding. So the child points, that means that they're the blender, and then you are going to follow the sounds. So they go, what, and the child goes, what? And then the child goes to the next one, put, pet, should, I, get. And then you do it together. What pet should I get? You might then look at it as in should. Let's code map the word should. You don't have to, you just focus on the book, but this is a high frequency word that might have been one that was in their sight word list, let's say, or what have you. So should, sh, or d. How do we code map it? Sh, or d, should, sh, or d, should, sh, or d, should. Let's have a look at the O cloud. Is it in there? Have we discovered a new one? And they constantly go back to this because they're quite obsessed with finding new ones. Let's find the ooh. Oh. Okay, so is it in there? Oh, yes, it is. Look, it's there. So we've discovered the oh, like in should. Can we think of any other words? Oh, that's the word could. Okay, so do the code mapping. And the children, you know, they do like to keep going back to the book. So once you've been, you know, once you've code mapped and done with the book, they like to look at it at night on their own and they'll go, what pet should I get? And they'll remember the parts, and that also helps them with their reading and spelling. So do speedy pair decoding. Like I said, I had to throw all the programs out of the window because nobody was doing things like that. People were saying, sound it out. Well, okay, let's sound this out. With basic phonics, the basic phonics that was available at that time, like Jolly Phonics and whatever, the children would go were at, were hat, were hat, what? It just doesn't make sense. Sir, her, oh no, I've got a shirt there, so sh, or old, old, it just doesn't make any sense. And I just thought, these poor kids are sitting there as confused as I am. So what I'm going to do is you point to it. So you're looking at that word. I know you're looking at it because you're pointing to it. And I'm going to give you the sounds, what, and then you're going to say the word so that your brain can think, okay, so were, or, what? And if we want to discover, can an A represent, so remember that A that we looked at before again? So here's another one. So here it's an O, isn't it? Look at that, that's an O. What? Let's have a look in the O cloud. What colour is O? Told you that earlier on. Purple. Oh no, it was air that we did, sorry. Where have we gone? O. I really need a video on a stick. Okay, so let's look at O. So in the word what that we just did, look, there it is. It is in there. What's the example? Was. Was this a high frequency word? Did you realise that A was a representation of O? You might not have even been consciously aware of it, but we need the children to be consciously aware of it. It's all very well, you're a reader and a speller, you can do it. Adults that you meet, which is almost half of Australians who are functionally illiterate, they don't know that, and they can't look at a word and work it out because it doesn't follow any kind of pattern of what they've been taught. So let's teach them differently. We've got to stop this failing kids because of the teaching methods. Let's change the teaching methods. Okay, so you find a book that they're interested in and that's age appropriate. You know, if you've got a 10-year-old, I will say to them, right, this book, I know it looks a little bit, well, most of the books that I read are silly, not babyish. That's why I do it, because I know a lot of the time I'm actually teaching teenagers. But I will be saying to them, this is a means to an end. This is a real book, and I need you to look at that code and to be able to read it quickly, because reading is decoding with fluency and comprehension. It means you can decode it quickly and understand it. If a child is looking at a book and they're taking so long to decode it, even if they can decode it, by the time they get to the end of the sentence, they've forgotten what they've decoded, so there's no way they can get the comprehension. That's why the big six is phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocab knowledge. That's why the big six is phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocab knowledge, comprehension. That's why the big six: oral language, phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, comprehension, vocab knowledge. You need all of them. There's no point just having your phonics and just being able to decode slowly. We need to be able to do it quickly to understand, so that we've got freed up working memory. So practice this. So they point to it and you're going to follow the sounds and they're going to say the word. So they point and I'll go so, and they say so. A, but e, they say maybe. Some. Other, they say other. Good, kind, of, pet. And then we go to back to the sentence and read it together. So maybe some other good kind of pet. In your phonics, let's think about in your phonics, how much of this have you covered? Let's have a look at just this sentence. How much in here do you cover in a whole phonics program? So think of this phonics here is probably a 2 or 3 or even 4 year phonics programs with most phonics programs because they're so unbelievably slow. So let's have a look what's covered. We've got this, we haven't got the O because when we look at the that letter in here, it's an O. They think of it as an O. Yes, A, yes, B, E. When we have a look at the E in basic phonics, it's usually an E, isn't it? And we're not doing may, bear. So when is the O represented by an No, it's not. M-E. No. No. The, yes. Now, often in phonics, they just teach that as not as an So the child is going to struggle. So g or d, yes, they're going to be able to do that. Kind, yes. Of, yes. Well, actually on the F in your phonics program, when did they teach the F as a V? Ask yourself that. Look at your phonics program. They don't. They presume that you're just going to know that as a high frequency words, which they call tricky words or whatever else. But put et. So here we would have had to have, what they're hoping is that you learn the most of it with phonics, some of it with high frequency words, but there's still parts that are left over. And that's what I want you to think. It's a jigsaw puzzle. And the children need to be able to read this as quickly as, as early on as they can, because then they're inspired and they want to do more. The longer you leave it, the less, the more resistance there tends to be. We want children reading for pleasure by 6. We want them reading, and loving to read. The more they read, what does Dr. Seuss say? Okay, so on the reading, you've got your decodables that are means to an end. Then you're going to do the strategies with real books. And what you're going to do is you're going to do snap and crack, which you'll see in your planning, which means that they don't just follow the sound, say the word, they've also got to comprehend what it is that they're reading, and you'll get that in the teacher handbook as well. So the decodables, what you do in any of them, get the decodable guide. Then you can see, well, what level? This is a yellow code level, and it's because it's got the ones preceding it, but it's got these new ones in. Yellow code level, so we've got purple and some yellow. So this is a yellow code level reader, and that means if a child is working at the yellow code level, they can read this because they can decode it. And what we're doing is decoding it with fluency and comprehension. Now, no other program codes it for them, but it's still useful because obviously it's following an order of teaching the phonics. You can order these are dandelion readers, you can order these through us. But what I'm trying to do is get people so that really they've got decodables up until the end of year 1, and then they stop. You shouldn't need decodables after that, because at the end of year 1, every child's going to go up to year 2 as a reader. Think of when they get to the end of yellow code level, you can start them on a PM 10-ish. You can just start them there. When it comes to there, they're around about a PM 2022. We actually stop at PM 25 at prep, because the content, they can decode it, but the content is just often not relevant to 5-year-olds. But the PM system, I don't want you to start on PM books, because it would be like starting on, this, when they don't know any code. So they'll look at it, and then what happens is they stop looking at this and they start looking at this and guessing from the picture, and what's going to happen and what have you, and the children freak out, and it's just not fair. So we start when they get to the end of that. That's when you can start on your PMs, and you can start on around about a PM 10. When you get to there, they're around about a PM 22. If you're in the group, you can see how it all maps and whatever, and talk to teachers, because they'll tell you about the benchmarking system and how it all works. Don't give them PM or F&P books before they get to there, please, because the PM and F&P books are based on a whole language approach, not based on phonics. So the children don't have any kind of phonics and what have you before that. So that they are able to actually read the books, please don't start it until you get to there. So the phonics lesson, when they put the headphones on, if they can do that lesson, they can do the rap in a certain amount of time, they can read yellow code level readers with fluency and comprehension. That's when you start on your PMs, and then you can use your reading levels and whatever if you have to. I hate reading levels, but anyway, you can do that. Okay, let me just show you this. This is the coding poster. This is your, if you think about a phonics program, it's kind of like a 2-year program all on one A3 sheet. The kids love it because they've just got the one, and it means that every day they're working through at their code level. So if a child is on the green code level, they'll start there. If the child's on the purple code level, on the blue code level, they'll start there. Every child is working at their level. I'm not going to go through the coding poster because there's a whole video you can watch to do that. And if you go on to ssptraining.org, you can do the mini conductor course, which is 10 hours. It's the 9 or 10 hours of what I would be teaching teachers over a 2-day period. And you can access that for $35 a month and just keep dipping in. So it's you know, you can start off with getting started. You can go to the Speedy 6, which is spelling. You can have a look at all the videos about the coding post and what have you. So use that, you know, use it as appropriate or what's relevant to you. But this has got everything. So it's got, right, here's your phonemic awareness. It's got at, recognizing, here's the monster, here's the picture of, you know, so it's recognizing the monster and recognizing the associated sound in that phoneme in that particular level. So they'll go d, j and g, o, s and k, because remember that's monster s, so that's representation for s there, that's monster s. And it really, the monsters really help them because it triggers, that's the sound, and then they look at it, and it's just a much quicker way to learn. K, k, e, b, f, s. Oh, look, there's another s. Look, we've had three monsters, 3 representations for s. If you don't have that there, it can look just like squiggles. But also, if you don't have the monster there, well, what's that? That's a G. So what is it saying? It's saying in this code level, remember, that's a picture for J and a picture for G. So they really help. We've got decodable words because we want them to be able to follow the sound, say the word. So here they know in the green code level that is going to be that is going to be at, that is going to be to. There's no shocks. So at sat, put at pat, put it and pin, to it and pin, tin, put at and pan, so at and Santa. Now I put that one in there because I actually want them to think, do we say Santa? Oh, okay, so sometimes we need to look at it and think, well, if I know that word is Santa, what is that? That's an so there are a few little things that are sort of in there to make them think. So decodable words, follow the sound, say the word, cross it out. At least once a week, also write the words and underline the sound picks so that they're going to go sat, and they line up their board with the coding poster. Okay, so that they can see it. So they'll go at sat, at sat, oh sorry, at sat, at sat. So they'll follow the sound, say the word, and then they'll decode it just once a week. It just takes a while. But you imagine the child doesn't always start at green. If the child can do that, you've got one child who's doing this, and another child who might be on our cars, so oil, soil, put earth, egg, you know, who are doing a much higher level coding. So each child is working through at their code level. So there's lots of things on here, and you know, you've got your high frequency words, you know, so going the, I, and, is, on, so, was. So you've got about 100 high frequency words there. And here's where you're putting it into sentences. So they scan it to yourself, so no robot voices, and say it in the speaking voices. So they have to scan it to themselves. The ant and the pan. So this is your phonics with fluency, because if they're doing that and they can do it quickly, is the pin in the pan? Is it a pan? Then you can start asking questions. So we're doing the comprehension, but they do that as comprehension as part of the 2-hour literacy block anyway. Okay, so this is your coding poster, which is really important. This just shows the explicit teaching order. So you don't really need this, but this just shows this is the order we're teaching here, then we go to here, then we go to here, and here is, so here's the spelling clouds. So here it's on a handy chart that can just go on the middle of the table if they haven't all got their own spelling cloud keyring. And what happens is that this is the order that we do it, and as they get to remember the order of, you know, of where everything is, so like is in purple, they use this so that they can then use this, because by the time they've been using this, they know, okay, so is in purple, and they know where to go. So it's a progression. If you just give them this at the beginning, it's just far too, you know, they can't look through every single cloud, whereas, you know, it's where you just can't do that. Okay, so they're useful things that we have. Now this is the monster pack. Wiring brains for spelling in the ears. So we've got the monster pack, lots of things in here, but I just want to show you when you very first get started, it doesn't matter if you've got a 10-year-old or what have you, what I'll be doing is starting off with monster mapping. But to start off with, I'm just going to start off with the sat pin monsters and always make sure they're in the right order. So we've got at, p, E, N. And all you're going to do is you're just going to build some words because you need to get their phonemic awareness. You know, we need to superpower their phonemic awareness. So if you had the word, a visual prompt, which are in here. So get your visual prompts out. So choose any of these words. Let's choose snap. Okay, so you say to them, right, here's snap. I want you to build the word snap. Now they need to know snap, right, it's not going to be that one, is it? So which one are you going to use? Snap. Now build it in the monsters. So monster, because remember, sat, it, that's why you leave them in that order. So even if they can't remember the monster, sat pin, they're going to remember the sat, put it in. Okay, so this one must be so we're doing snap. So at it and snap. I need an at there. So it's like a jigsaw for the brain. We're letting the brain work this out without even thinking about letters, without thinking about the phonics. So now I've built the word snap. Snap, I built the word snap. Now that does show, and the reason I put the words there is just so you know what I'm talking about, that I'm not asking you to do, you know, hand or what have you. All of these are built using the sat pin. Okay, and the children obviously do then start looking at that and say, oh, I know which one it is. I know which picture for, oops, hold on. I know which picture for, now I would laminate this because then they can write on it. I've actually not laminated this and I don't write on it just in case I ruin it. But when it comes to what's the picture of that sound, so the monster, what was the picture of, laminate it, and then they can write this and the and the a and the p. Now what I suggest, you get this, what I suggest is that you photocopy it once, just for your use, otherwise you're in breach of copyright. So photocopy this once, and then what I suggest is that you create a Velcro chart, so that then you cut out the others and laminate them, and laminate this and just Velcro it. So you keep them all, so they're all in the same order, and it means that the children can build, so they can build using these, but they can also, when you ask them to do a word like frog, they can find the monster, where's, they can find, and then they can find and then they can find o, and then they can find g. Where's g? Oh, there, g. So they can build it up, og, frog. They can also do it with these. But what I like is that, as in addition to do it with your ordinary monsters, is that if you do it through this, it means they're constantly remembering where the speech sound is in the order. So green, purple, yellow, blue, and it really, really helps them.
Monster mapping in prep.
Frog.
Oh, let me play.
Okay, now if you finish, you can do your lines and numbers. Lines and numbers for frog. Oh, sorry, whoever that was. Where's your monsters for frog? I can see. Need the rest. Good job. Lines and numbers for frog.
Is that a good? There it is.
Well done, frog. Now do the lines and numbers.
The very first things you're going to do, and you're going to see the planning. If you've got a dream team member, you'll see the planning it takes you through. But what I want you to do is start off with the monster routine, which is shown in your planning area. Do the monster routine, do it for sat-pin words, just sat-pin words. Just start off with the sat-pin words, because you'll be quite surprised, even if you've got a 12-year-old who struggled, they will struggle at the beginning with the monster routine with sat-pin. I want you to use your pocket rocket. Sorry, I haven't got any with me, but I want you to use your pocket rocket so that they are doing speedy pair decoding with you. I want you to have real books that the child chooses. They point you, you know, just do a mixture. So some of it you could just be reading to them. Then you could say, let's do speedy pair decoding, where they're going to point. Your mind. And you're also going to do lots and lots of code mapping. Try using the Speedy 6, which is, again, in your planning. It's 6 daily activities that you can do in the back of the car, you can do anywhere. You know, as much of this as that you can do, just, you know, anywhere that you are. The monster routine, yes, you've got to lay it out. You know, your reading you can do at night. You could just be in a supermarket and code map words. So when you're in the supermarket, just choose a random word and just code map it. And, you know, walk around with a whiteboard pen, a whiteboard marker. Obviously, if you've got a 12-year-old, they're not going to do that. But if you've got a 3 and a 4-year-old, they love it. They hold on to the whiteboard in the trolley, and they're writing and what have you in the trolley. So, but it's going to test you. People who've used basic phonics, when you think about code mapping, sorry, I am in Spain, so a lot of the words are in Spanish, but this is the brand, so obviously that's going to be the same. It's fairy. A lot of people who use basic phonics, when I say code map, they'll just go, oh, okay, easy. Look, I know that. It's going to be like that. Well, actually, it's not. Now, what happens is, as the children are doing this, they're helping to make the spelling clouds even better. So I've got an old spelling cloud keyring here, and I'm choosing this word because I just want to show how it works. So when a child has done, oh, they've been in the supermarket, let's say it's a 3-year-old, they're in the supermarket, for air or E. Oh, so that's air. Then they look in the cloud, and look how excited they will get, because they would see AI should be in there, shouldn't it? For air or E, it's not in there. And they get very excited. So they write it on the outside of the cloud, and they look for another word, and if they can find another word that has it in it, then they tell me and it goes in. So they might think of like hairy, hairy. Might have just read Harry McClary or whatever. So air, so they get very excited and it goes in, and then I do them a poem. So they feel like they're part of it, they're part of the whole SSP journey because they're contributing. The children have helped me. Children across the country and now around the world have helped me code map so many words, so we keep adding to the clouds. It's just amazing. It's a real collaborative approach. So that's what happens if they come to one they're not sure of, they're looking for it, they get very excited, they're writing it on the outside, look for another word, and then they get a poem written, and it goes in at the next batch of clouds that get printed. And so you just add, so I would suggest once a year, perhaps at the beginning of the year, you update your clouds, or perhaps once every 6 months. We hardly get any new ones now because we've been doing this probably about 4 years with this actual spelling cloud keyring like this. I did it slightly differently before, but I just found that this is just a much better way of doing it. Yeah, so it's a collaborative approach. But just in the supermarket, what's that word? So you'll say, this is the word fairy, and then the child goes, for air or E. And even if they're just doing the duck, hands, lines, numbers, but then what you find is very quickly they actually start thinking, well, which is which? This must be the fur and the air, and then they want to write on the bottle, and you say, no, not till I've paid for it. But anyway, so you can see, here's the updated air. Where's air? Where are you? There's the air monster. So air AI, can you see it? And we've got fairy in there for air or E. So monster routine, mapping as much as you can, tell them the word, map it. Lots of reading with real books using the techniques, the suspected techniques. Use your decodables at their code level. Use the brain training videos, the phonics and the high frequency words. And follow the planning. But just start off there and really just start off thinking, all we're actually really going to do is start discovering the code. So even if you just choose random words, any words at all, it doesn't matter what it is. It's like in the Speedy 6. The Speedy 6 is not linked to their code level. Choose any random word. You know, you've just been to the water park. Yeah, let's just say it was water park. So water park, and let's say it said water park on the postcard that you bought, or I don't know, water park. So you say water park. Oh, let's code map it. We're ought water, put arc park. So use your duck, hands, lines, and think, oh, okay, so were, which is the were? which is the or, which is the t, which is the We're ought and they very quickly start to see that that actually is very, very often an per, ark, park. And what happens then is the next day when you start to do, you know, oh, I don't want to sleep in the dark or whatever else, and they find another word, then they start to say, oh, that we did that in park as well. And the children will start, when they're spelling, they'll start saying, is it the R in park or is it the R in jar? Oh, no. Is it the R in like calm? You know, which R is it? That's what the children do. Instead of saying, how do I spell whatever, they'll say, which is the picture for, you know, R, or like they might have done put all, and they'll say, which is the A in play? And what you do is you say, here's the cloud, where's the A cloud? The A cloud is in yellow. And if you're not sure, have a look. Where's A? Where's A? Where's A? Oops, hold on, sorry. A. So the child say, which is the A in play? Get it out. And you just say, it is this one. A, put or A, play. And they put it next to it, and then they write the A. Put or A, play, but because they looked at it, it means that their brains are going to look at other bits if they're ready, and if they're not, it doesn't matter. Now, we simplify all the time. I just want you to look at this one, because this one's a bit of an unusual one, because this one's quer. And we do that because it's so, you know, when a child is looking at queen, we actually, you know, it's a common one. But actually, when you get the monsters out, it's easier for the children to see. It's actually k-were. There are two monsters. So actually, really, we can split it, can't we? So it's really k and were. Yeah? So k, were, in. And think about a word that's got it in as well. There's the word in penguin, isn't it? P, e, n, g, w, I, n. Iraq. You know, so that is just there. That's a bit of a funny one, but that's there just because it's so common. I actually don't put the quirk cloud on the walls because we don't need it there. We've got a k and we've got a were. So we've got the k in the k cloud. Look, we've got the k already in there. Where's k? We've got the k just there, and we've got the were in yellow. So we don't need it, but I just wanted to let you know that because that's something that comes up quite a lot. So get rid of any idea about rules, get rid of, don't use things like, don't say this is a long E or a short E or whatever else. That makes no sense at all. You know, a 2-year-old thinks of something long as a snake or something. Their concept of long, you can't attach it to a sound. They just don't understand. Why is that a long E and a short E? An e is an e and an e is an e, you know, and then this is a letter E, and then you're going to say it's a long, it's just too many concepts, it's too confusing. And I'm not surprised that we don't do well in literacy because we have confused the heck out of the process. So just have, here's the letter E. What's it a picture of? Well, it depends on the word. We don't know until we look at the word. In this word, it could be the, or it could be the, depending on, investigate that. That's an interesting one. Is it the or is it the? What is it here? It's an e there. What is it here? Enough. I. That's an I there. E there. E or a there. So what is it? Well, it's nothing until it's in a word. But that is the letter E, so we always say, so what is it a picture of in that word? Do it like that. But please get rid of any of these funny things, and you don't need any spelling rules. Spelling rules don't work, and actually what I love is seeing an SSP student that's been through, you know, a prep in year 1, you put them in a year 2 class, and then all of a sudden the teacher might be saying, this is this rule. Well, I love it because the SSP kids will say, well, actually, no, it doesn't work in this word, or what about this word? And they love picking it apart. So I pity the year 2 teacher who has a SSP student that was in prep in year 1, and she's not used to SSP, because the children are going to challenge you, which is exactly what we want. We want children being independent, articulate, and to challenge everything that you say. Oh, and I forgot to say, this is the speech sound frog. He's very naughty. The children love him. play with him in the preschool all the time, and it means that, supposing we've got the ant is in the pan. Oops, let's do it on a new line, shall we? Pan. Okay, so the speech sound frog has been at work, because look, he's eating the full stop. Oh, because we finished, he's eating the full stop. And what else did he do? Oh, naughty speech sound frog didn't put a capital letter. So this is the grammar police, the spelling and punctuation police. So it means that they go through and they self-edit their work, and what they're doing is they're going through to see if the speech sound frog ate any of their full stops or capital letters. He really helps you introduce punctuation and grammar in a fun way, and it means that if they get it wrong, speech marks, if they get it wrong, they didn't get it wrong, the speech sound frog did, and it gives them an excuse to rectify what the speech sound frog did to their work. Okay, so what I want you to do is go to the shop to get your Dream Team membership and to get your pack. That's actually the direct URL. If you're on the home page, missemma.com.au, then you would look for the shop, the SSP store, which is just there. Okay, so hit the store. So when I said to you about the SSP training mini conductor course of $35, the link is actually there. There's a special keyring offer there for getting your high frequency words and your phonics keyrings for $35 for both of them, normally $20 each. If you wanted the link to go straight to, if you're already a member, to your daily code mapping videos, you go there. If you just wanted to join the Dream Team, there's your starter kit. But what I want you to do, if you're a parent, is go onto here, and I want you to scroll down to that just tells teachers that they're following every strand of the English curriculum when they're using the phase 2 routine. Okay. So I want you to, and that's their teacher bundle, so that's the teaching pack, which means they've got everything for language, literacy and literature, in Prep in Year 1, Foundation Year 1. Okay, so here you go, here's for you if you're a parent, recommended bundle for the parent of a school-age child. You can get this as well if you've got a preschool child, but just get the pack for one student. So that's what you need. You've got your Spelling Cloud keyring, your match, your coding poster. They're all the things that we've just seen and a few things that you haven't just seen. But and here it is if you've got 5 students, so that's if you're learning support. So you've got enough for 5 students to do a response to intervention. To not only get the pack, but also have a Dream Team membership. So the Dream Team membership on its own is normally $185. So this gives you everything for teaching your child to read, write and spell. So if you're a homeschooling child, parent, or if you're a parent of a preschooler, that's absolutely everything for teaching them reading, writing, letter formation, spelling, comprehension, everything. Okay, so that's what you need. And once you've got your Dream Team membership, it says, after you've paid, please friend Miss Emma on Facebook. If you click on the link, it actually gives you the direct link to my Facebook username. It'll show as Facebook/Emma Lewis 2017. So you friend me. Once you've friended me, that means that I'll add you to the group. So friend me and send me a message to say I've joined, under this name or whatever. And then I know to look out for you. And it means I'll add you to the group. And then what you do is you go into the group I've added you to and you look for the pinned post, and it gives you instructions about what to do. You're going to register on codecrackers.com.au with your email and password and whatever. But what you need to do is you need to follow the instructions, because that in the pinned post, it will tell you what to do so that I know your account is waiting to be approved. I don't look at the waiting to be approved list and know that that is you. I can't possibly. There are hundreds of people that try to join every single day. You have to go through the procedure. So look at the pinned post, read it carefully, and you'll get in and you'll understand what you're supposed to be doing. When you're actually in there, it gives you instructions about how to use this site, which is the missemma.com.au site. Let's go back to home. Because this is the site where you've got your planning. So you're not alone. This is where you get your planning. So you're not alone. It's not a case of you get a pack and you don't know what to do. You come onto here. So you've got your support group, your Facebook support group, which tells you what to do, and you join, you know, you're linked in with people who are there to help you and who you can help. And then you click on here, and this is what takes you to your planning pages. You click on this and it'll ask you for a password, and that's what you get in your pinned post. And once you've logged into that, that's where you can see all of your planning. Now let me just log us in. Okay, so when you're in, you've got your miscellaneous info. So readers, Decodable readers, poems, sight words, lots of information, probably too much information for you at first. So I suggest that the first thing you actually do is go here. Even though this is the place where teachers go for the Prep and Year 1 planning, I actually suggest that you start there. You can go to the Prep Parent Support and start on those videos. But if you go to the P2 routine, because this is what all the children would be doing who are first starting prep, and it just gives you an insight into the getting started. Just adapt if it's your child. So getting started with SSP. As I say, this is where teachers would go for their planning, for the first, you know, just to get them into it, especially if they've never used SSP before.
Hey.
Okay, so, oops. Getting started, whole class teaching. So it just tells you, and you as well, here's to download the font you need, letter strips, letter formation, alphabet video. Just use the things you need. So this is what they would do for week 1. Every child would have those things. And then it just goes through what do we want the children to be able to do at the end of the 2 weeks or the end of the week. So just have a look through, and I've actually written it. So it's your whiteboard lessons, or use them on the laptop obviously. So there's your monster routine explaining it. That tells you what to do. Another explanation. If you were in prep or if you're in preschool, it just gives ideas of what we've been making, speech sound cameras, what we've been doing with sound and what have you. You know, the story, get lots of exciting pictures and talk about them, lots of oral language, speech sound detective time, just gives you lots of ideas. So this would be the 2-hour literacy block for preps. They started in week 4 of prep, term 1, week 3 for year 1s, and week 2 for year 2s. But teachers could start this at any time, and that's their 2-hour block. That's what they do. So just follow through. Day 1, and if you read, you've got the time to read it. So I'm actually, you know, I've been a prep reception teacher, so I know. So I've written here, day 1, I've planned this knowing you'll have 50 million things to do to get them settled. Anyone who's actually taught knows that the first week or so, you're settling them in. They don't know how to sit. They don't know how to go to the toilet on their own. You know, someone's being sick, what have you. So you've got all of that stuff to cope with. So I've literally gone through as if I'm talking to them. Show them this video. You know, although you've got words to do, they enjoy circling the picture with the whiteboard. You know, it just goes through as if I'm talking to you. So parents, just read it through. Tells them what to start, exactly what to do. Have a saucepan ready. Explain that the king wanted to send the ant to the prince far away. So it talks to them about the story. You know, it really takes you through. Day 2, day 3, day 4. Okay, so use it. Anyway, if you've got any questions, just send me a message. Facebook me, friend me on Facebook, and send me a private message. But hopefully that's been helpful, and I really look forward to seeing you in the group and welcoming you as part of the SSP family.